My parents were furious when my sister got pregnant. My dad shouted, "You're no daughter of mine." My mom screamed, "Get out." I took my sister in and decided to take care of her. 3 years later, my parents suddenly showed up. They froze when they learned the truth about the child. How? How is this possible? In the small town of Hood River, Oregon, reputation is the only currency that matters. My father, Richard Hartley, was an accountant who treated his family like a balance sheet. Everything had to be in the black, perfectly aligned, no room for errors. My mother, Eleanor, was a high school literature teacher who preached about the tragedies of Shakespeare but refused to acknowledge any drama within her own four walls. I was the golden boy. Daniel Hartley, the software engineer, the dependable son, the one who played by the rules until my knuckles bled. But my sister, Alina? She was the light of that suffocating house. She was 5 years younger than me, a gentle soul with eyes that held the clarity of the Columbia River. She wanted to be a nurse because, as she put it, someone has to be there when the world stops caring. I didn't know it then, but our world was about to stop caring. It was a Tuesday in late autumn. The wind was howling through the apple orchards, and the rain was beginning to turn the streets into mirrors of gray. My phone buzzed on my desk. It was a text from Lena. "Daniel, I'm at the coffee shop on Maple. Please come alone. Don't tell Mom and Dad." My blood turned to ice. Lena never asked for secrets. In the Hartley household, secrets were sins. When I arrived at the cafe, the bell above the door chimed like a death knell. I saw her in a corner booth, hunched over a cup of tea she wasn't drinking. She looked small. Too small for 22. Her blonde hair was a mess, and her eyes were raw from crying. "Lena, talk to me," I said, sliding into the booth. I reached for her hand. It was freezing. "What's happened? Is it school? Money?" She looked up, and the sheer terror in her gaze shattered my heart. "I'm pregnant, Daniel. 5 months." The air left the room. 5 months. That meant she had been carrying this weight alone through her final year of nursing school. "Jared?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Jared Thompson, the golden boy finance major she'd been dating. He looked like a prince but had the soul of a vulture. "He's gone," she choked out. As soon as the test turned blue, he vanished. He moved to Seattle. He told me if I didn't take care of it, he would deny everything. He called me a mistake, Daniel. He called our baby a mistake. A roar of protective rage built up in my chest, but I suppressed it. Lena didn't need a vigilante, she needed a brother. "You're keeping it?" I asked. "I can't let go of this, Daniel. I know what they'll say. I know what the town will think. But this is the only thing that feels real right now." I squeezed her hand. "Then we do this. But we have to tell them. We can't hide a life, Lena." 2 days later, we stood in the foyer of our parents' home. The house smelled of expensive lemon polish and repressed emotions. My father was in his leather armchair, the Wall Street Journal folded perfectly on his lap. My mother was adjusting a vase of lilies, white, for purity. "Mom, Dad," I began, my voice steady despite the tremor in my soul. "Lena has something to tell you." Lena stepped forward. She looked like a soldier facing a firing squad. "I'm pregnant. I'm 5 months along, and I'm keeping the baby." The silence that followed was louder than any explosion. My mother's hand stopped midair. The vase didn't break, but the atmosphere did. "Explain yourself," my father said. His voice wasn't loud. It was cold, analytical, like he was looking at a faulty line of code. "There's nothing to explain, Dad," Lena whispered. "I made a mistake in who I trusted, but I won't make a mistake in who I am. I'm going to be a mother." My mother turned around, her face a mask of aristocratic fury. "Mother? At 22? Without a husband? Do you have any idea what this does to your father's firm? To my reputation at the school? You'll be the talk of the grocery store. You've dragged our name through the mud, Lena. Is that all you care about?" I snapped, stepping in front of my sister. "The gossip? Your daughter is hurting." "Daniel, stay out of this," my father commanded. He stood up, towering over us. Lena, you have 24 hours to make an appointment to fix this. Otherwise, you are no longer a Hartley. We will not support a scandal. I'm not fixing my child, Lena cried, her voice finally breaking. Then get out, my father said. He didn't scream. He just pointed to the door. If you choose that thing over your family, then you have no family. Pack your bags. Now. I looked at my mother, hoping for a flicker of the woman who taught me about compassion in literature. She just looked away, her eyes fixed on her spotless white lilies. Fine, I said, grabbing Lena's suitcase before she could even move. If she's out, I'm out. If this is what your honor looks like, you can keep it. It's worthless. We walked out into the Oregon rain, the heavy oak door slamming behind us like the lid of a casket. I didn't know how I was going to support a sister and a newborn on a software engineer's salary in a one-bedroom apartment. I didn't know that for the next 3 years, my life would be a blur of diapers, code, and loneliness. But as I looked at Lena, sobbing in the passenger seat of my car, I knew one thing. The Hartley golden boy was dead. And I was finally becoming a man. The transition from a bachelor software engineer to a surrogate father and full-time protector didn't happen in a movie montage. It happened in the grueling, silent hours between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. I moved Lena into my one-bedroom apartment. I gave her the bedroom and dragged my old college futon into the living room, right next to my workstation. My life became a frantic cycle: write code, heat up soup for Lena, attend a Zoom meeting, research prenatal vitamins, write more code. The silence from our parents was deafening. I had expected a call, a moment of weakness from my mother, perhaps a check in the mail from my father's logical side. Nothing. It was as if we had been surgically removed from their lives. In Hood River, we became the ghosts of the Hartley family. Daniel, you're working too hard, Lena whispered one night. She was 8 months pregnant then, her silhouette framed by the moonlight coming through the balcony door. I see the bags under your eyes. I'm a burden. I should have gone to a shelter. I didn't even look up from my dual monitors. My fingers kept flying across the mechanical keyboard. You're not a burden, Lena. You're my sister. And that little guy in there? He's my nephew. He's the only Hartley I give a damn about right now. Then came the morning of October 14th. The rain was lashing against the windows so hard it sounded like gravel. Daniel. The panic in her voice was a physical blow. I dropped my coffee mug, the dark liquid splashing across my white rug, the last remnant of my perfect bachelor life. I rushed into the bedroom to find Lena clutching the bedpost, her face ash gray. It's time, she gasped. The drive to the hospital was a blur of hydroplaning tires and my own heart thumping against my ribs. I held her hand in the delivery room until my knuckles turned white. I watched the person I loved most in the world go through a pain I couldn't shoulder for her. And then, at 4:12 a.m., the world shifted. A cry pierced the sterile air, sharp, defiant, and full of life. The nurse placed a tiny, red-faced bundle in Lena's arms. "Meet Micah," she whispered, her voice thick with exhaustion and a new, terrifying strength. The nurse looked at me. "Would you like to cut the cord, Dad?" I froze. I looked at Lena. She nodded, her eyes glistening. As the metal blades snicked through the cord, I felt a tether snap inside me. I wasn't just Daniel the brother anymore. I was the wall between this child and a world that didn't want him. The next 2 years were a battlefield. Being a single mother is hard. Being a single mother whose family has treated her like a leper is a special kind of hell. Lena went back to nursing school online, studying with Micah strapped to her chest in a carrier. I took on every freelance contract I could find. I coded until my eyes bled to pay for the premium formula, the vaccinations, the tiny shoes he outgrew every month. The town of Hood River didn't make it easy. When I took Micah to the park, I saw the mothers whisper. I saw the way they looked at Lena's ringless finger. Once, I ran into my father at the local hardware store. He looked older, his suit still crisp, but his eyes were sunken. He looked at the toddler in my arms, Micah, with his mop of blonde hair and bright, curious eyes, and he didn't even blink. He walked past me like I was a stranger selling insurance on the street. I went home that day and cried in the shower so Lena wouldn't hear me. By the time Micah turned 3, we had reached a fragile peace. Lena was months away from her nursing degree. Micah was a ball of energy who called me Daddy. I had accepted that it would always be us against the world. Until the doorbell rang on a Tuesday evening. I thought it was a delivery. I opened the door, expecting a pizza or a package of server parts. Instead, I found a ghost. Jared Thompson stood there. But he wasn't the arrogant college boy in a varsity jacket anymore. He was wearing a suit that cost more than my car. He had a Rolex on his wrist and a look of practiced humility on his face that made my stomach churn. "Daniel," he said, "it's been a long time." I didn't speak. I didn't breathe. I just felt the rage, 3 years of stored up, concentrated venom, rising to the surface. "I've done well for myself in Seattle," he continued, stepping forward as if he were invited. "I started a fintech firm. I'm a millionaire, Daniel. Several times over." "Get off my porch," I rasped. "Wait, I'm not here to brag. I'm here because I made a mistake. A massive one. I've had everything money can buy, and I've never been more miserable. I want to see her. I want to see my son." From the kitchen, I heard Micah's laughter as Lena tickled him. The sound felt like a shield. "You don't have a son," I said, my voice dropping to a dangerous level. "You have a mistake you ran away from. Remember? You told her to fix it." "Well, she didn't fix it. She lived it. We lived it." "I have lawyers, Daniel," Jared said, his tone shifting slightly, a hint of the old predator peeking through. "But I don't want to use them. I want to make this right. I bought a house. A mansion, really. Right here in Hood River. I want to give it to them. I want to marry her." I laughed. It was a cold, jagged sound. "You think you can buy 3 years of abandonment with a zip code? Daniel? Who is it?" Lena walked into the hallway, wiping her hands on a towel. She stopped. The towel hit the floor. The air in the apartment became heavy, charged with the electricity of a looming storm. Jared looked at her, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. "Lena," he whispered, "you look beautiful." The weeks that followed were a psychological chess match. Jared didn't go away. He set up camp in a luxury hotel and flooded our apartment with reparations. First, it was flowers. Then, high-end toys for Micah. Then, a legal document, not a summons, but a trust fund. A 7-figure sum in Micah's name that neither Lena nor I could touch until he turned 21. "He's trying to buy his way back into heaven," I told Lena as we sat on the balcony, looking at the trust documents. Lena was quiet. She had changed. The girl who cried in the coffee shop was gone. This woman was iron-willed. "He can't buy back the nights I spent wondering if I'd be able to afford Micah's antibiotics, Daniel. I know that." "Then why are you meeting him for coffee tomorrow?" I asked, unable to hide the hurt in my voice. She looked at me, her eyes soft. "Because Micah asks why he doesn't have a real daddy. Because I'm about to start a nursing career that pays $40,000 a year, and Jared is offering him a world where he never has to struggle. I have to know if there's a human being left inside that suit, or if it's just more money." I went with her, of course. We met at the same coffee shop where this nightmare began. Jared was different this time. He didn't lead with his wealth. He talked about his own father, a man as cold as ours, who had pressured him to choose career over distractions. He cried real, snotty tears as he apologized for being a coward. "I don't want your money, Jared," Lena said, her voice cutting through his sobbing. "I want to know if you'll stay when you get sick. I want to know if you'll stay when I'm working a 12-hour shift and the house is a mess. Or are you just here because you reached the top of the mountain and realized it was lonely?" "Test me," Jared pleaded. "I bought the house on the river. The one you used to point at when we were kids. It's in your name, Lena. Yours and Daniel's. Even if you never marry me, even if you never see me again, the house is yours. I just want the chance to be in the same room as him." The move to the mansion on the hill was bittersweet. It was a palace of glass and cedar overlooking the Columbia River. It had a room for Micah that was larger than our entire old apartment. It had a suite for me, a thank you for my service, as Jared put it. I hated it. Every time I walked on the heated marble floors, I felt like I was walking on Lena's dignity. But then I saw Micah. I saw him running across a sprawling green lawn. I saw him having a library of books and a kitchen full of fresh, organic food. I saw Lena finally able to breathe, no longer checking her bank balance every time she bought a gallon of milk. And then, the final piece of the puzzle fell into place. It was a month after the move. A Saturday afternoon. The doorbell rang. I opened it, expecting Jared. It was Richard and Eleanor Hartley. They looked diminished. My mother wasn't wearing her pearls. My father's hair was completely white. They stood on the porch of the house bought by the man they had once looked down upon, looking at the son they had discarded. "Daniel," my mother whispered. Her voice was cracked. "We saw the news. About the house. About Jared." "You saw the money," I corrected her, leaning against the doorframe. "You didn't care when we were in a one-bedroom apartment over a laundromat. But now that there's a mansion and a millionaire, suddenly the Hartleys have a memory." "We were wrong," my father said. Those 3 words. The 3 words I had waited a lifetime to hear. He didn't look at me, he looked at his shoes. "The house was too quiet, Daniel. Every dinner, every night, we sat there in that perfect house and realized we were sitting in a tomb. We burned our bridges to save our pride, and we ended up stranded." My mother reached out, her hand trembling. "Is he here? Our grandson?" I wanted to slam the door. I wanted to tell them that Micah didn't need grandparents who only showed up for the victory lap. But then I felt a small hand tugging on my jeans. "Daddy Dan? Who is at the door?" Micah peered out, his blonde hair glowing in the afternoon sun. I looked at my parents. They saw him, and for the first time in my 33 years, I saw my father crumble. He didn't just cry, he sank to his knees on the porch, covering his face with his hands. "He looks just like you did," my mother sobbed, clutching her chest. Lena appeared behind me. She looked at the parents who had told her to fix her mistake. She looked at the mother who had chosen lilies over her daughter. The silence lasted a lifetime. "The turkey is in the oven," Lena said, her voice devoid of malice, but filled with a heavy, newfound authority. "It's almost on Thanksgiving. If you want to be a part of this family, you start by washing the dishes. And you never, ever mention honor in this house again." That Thanksgiving was the strangest day of my life. At the head of the table sat Jared, the man I still wanted to punch, trying desperately to prove he was a father. To his left were my parents, the people who had abandoned us, now hovering over Micah like he was a holy relic. And then there was me. I sat at the end of the table, watching this impossible gathering. I looked at the luxury around us, and then I looked at the scars on Lena's hands from the years of cleaning and working. The money didn't fix us. The mansion didn't heal the wounds. But as Micah grabbed a dinner roll and shouted, "Look, Grandpa," and my father actually smiled, a real human smile, I realized that the golden boy hadn't just saved his sister. He had saved the whole damn family. After dinner, I went out to the balcony. The Columbia River was a dark ribbon of silk below us. Lena joined me. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "You did it, Daniel," she whispered. "You held us together when we were falling apart." "I just did what a Hartley was supposed to do," I said. "The real version. Not the one Dad taught us." "Are you happy?" she asked. I looked back through the glass doors. I saw my mother showing Micah a picture book. I saw Jared and my father talking, 2 men who had both learned that success is a lie if you have no one to share it with. "I'm tired, Lena," I admitted, a tear finally escaping. "I'm so tired. But for the first time in 3 years, I think I can finally sleep." I wasn't the daddy anymore. Jared was taking that role, step by painful step. I was back to being Uncle Daniel. The protector. The witness. The wind blew off the river, cold and sharp, but for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the chill. I was home. Not because of the $1 million walls, but because the ghosts had finally been laid to rest.